we will be taking a look at the 1984 Democratic Convention, where the presidential and vice presidential candidate will be selected. As the delegates, alternates, and candidates, press and party officials gather at the newly opened Moscone Center, there is one question that is very much on everyone's mind. That is, can the Democratic Party reconcile its differences and select a platform candidate that has wide support throughout the nation? Welcome to the 39th Democratic Convention, where we will bring to you our own look at the convention. History in the making. What is going on here is a form of democracy. As democratic vote is a manner in which the eventual next president will be chosen, so is it the way in which the 3,931 delegates will select the Democratic candidate. For democracy to work on a large scale, it is necessary to have some kind of proportionate representation. That is, citizens elect other citizens to represent their interests in government. This is the basis for the convention system of candidate selection. There is nothing in the United States Constitution that either prohibits or recommends the national party conventions. The first National Democratic Convention was held in 1832, when 23 states met to establish the National Convention as an American tradition. Apart from their funny hats, shaking signs, and voluminous verbosity, the only thing the delegates have in common is that they are all registered Democrats. In 1984 is the first year the rules of the National Democratic Party mandate even distribution of male and female delegates, as well as requiring fair minority representation. Indeed, 54% of the delegates this year are women, 46% are male, 72% are white, the remaining 28% coming from the different minority groups. Only 25% belong to unions, while 72% have college degrees. How are they selected? Hey, this is Wendy Starr. She's a delegate. Can you tell me what state are you from?
Vermont.
How did you become a delegate?
Well, I was very interested in the freeze movement and supported a verifiable mutual freeze and decided to get political, and that was the way of having my voice heard. So through the caucus, I chaired our caucus in Woodstock, Vermont, and was chosen as a delegate to the state convention, and then chosen at the state convention as a delegate to the national convention. So through the Hart and Mondale and Jackson campaigns, I was nominated.
A prospective delegate will apply to the State Delegation Selection Committee for consideration as a delegate. The committee will then consider the total number of people applying to be delegates and select the number allowed their state. These delegates will form about 90% of the entire delegation. Of these, 75% are chosen to represent their own electoral district. These are called district delegates. The other 25% are known as at-large delegates and are appointed to various districts to ensure a balance of race and gender. In addition to these, there are the superstar delegates, which make up 10% of the total. These are Democratic elected officials who are senators, congressmen, governors, and mayors of large cities. Their presence ensures that these major vote-getters will have a candidate selection process.
I've been a Democrat all my life. I know the Democratic Party. Failure is not a Democratic habit. 1984 will be a great year for the Democrats, a great year for America. Let us leave this convention united to put the Democrats in the leading spots all over the nation. And let us gain back the White House and the Senate and add more men to the House. Thank you, one and all.
For 1984, the candidates are Jesse Jackson of South Carolina, Senator Gary Hart of Colorado, and former Vice President Walter Mondale of Minnesota. Each candidate, in his own way, represents a different aspect of the Democratic Party in 1984. Jesse Jackson spoke to the Women's Caucus, which is one of the many political groups which influence the democratic process at the convention. Of all the candidates, Jesse Jackson won the smallest number of delegates, but made perhaps the biggest impression. He was the first black to win a primary election. He won 2. Considering that this was the first time he had run for political office, this was a truly remarkable achievement. His success in bringing back Lieutenant Goldman from Syria and political prisoners from Cuba bolstered his national reputation as a humanitarian activist. His candidacy is representative of many of the most liberal left-wing aspects of today's Democratic Party. Of all the candidates, his public speaking style is the most polished and powerful, as well as the most radical in tone.
It's because it's who I represent. I represent the damned, the disinherited, the disrespected, and they are restless, and they are enraged. They won't change, and they deserve it. We must leave here more than a new president. We must leave here with a new direction. All right. It's time for a change. We must be tough enough to know that debate does not mean division. It means democracy.
Meanwhile, back inside the hall, the convention is gathering momentum. Speeches are made, some speeches are cheered, others booed. The party platform, which the presidential candidate will have to stand on, is finally finished. Arguments give way to compromise. Discord makes way for harmony. The limelight is now reserved for the candidates. Gary Hart, U.S. Senator from Colorado, is another new face in the Democratic Party. He won the second largest number of delegates in the primaries, doing considerably better than Jackson and beating Mondale in 22 races. His association with party politics goes back much farther than Jackson's. He was a volunteer in the 60s Kennedy campaign and became George McGovern's campaign manager in 1972. He has been a U.S. Senator since 1974. In Colorado, where he is the support among Republicans as well as Democrats. Of all the candidates, it is Walter Mondale who has the deepest roots in the party.
So tonight I want to speak to the young people of America and to their parents and to their grandparents. I'm Walter Mondale.
He was a U.S. Senator for Minnesota from 1964 to 1977 and Vice President under Jimmy Carter from 1977 to 1981. He is a political protege of Hubert Humphrey and as such a representative of the old Democratic Party of the 60s. He won the majority of the delegates in the primaries and was generally ahead in the primaries except for Gary Hart's surprisingly strong performance. He is a party mainstay who tries to speak for the average middle-of-the-road Democrat. He has shown great political savoy in choosing Representative Geraldine Ferraro as his running mate. This important part of the convention is underway, the roll call vote. Each state will announce to the secretary the roll split for their delegation. The winner will need 1967 votes. District of Columbia was Jackson territory.
14 votes for the Congress of the Democratic Party, Jesse Louis Jackson.
California showed big support for Gary Hart. New Jersey holds the decision in its hands, and it's a Mondale.
All the votes were tallied. It was Mondale with
2,109
votes. This is a decision
that these delegates came here to make. This is Walter Mondale's crowning moment. Also, the moment of defeat for Hart and Jackson. The Democratic Party will now unite and support Walter Mondale for president in 1984. This is Claire Merrill. Thank you.